watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Hello everyone and welcome to Force 13 Live in the morning of December the 2nd, 2019. We are covering Typhoon Kammuri as it approaches the Philippines and it is undergoing rapid intensification as it does so. Force 13 analyzes, and the ATCF does as well, its winds to be 105 miles per hour and a pressure of 964 millibars. We are also joined by my team today consisting of Nathan, David, Devin, and Thomas. How are you guys doing? Alright. So we do have signal 1, 2, and 3 warnings in effect for the Philippines. What are the latest on those? Those signal 3 issues were issued earlier today. That's what I've heard. And this storm, I believe, is rated by the GMA, I think, to be around 965 millibars at the moment. Pull up that information real quick. No. Yep, they have it at winds of 90 miles per hour, 955 millibars currently, and they are forecasting intensification, slight intensification, up to 100 miles per hour, 950 millibars, in around 12 hours as it makes landfall in the Philippines, probably in the eastern Visayas region, north of where Haiyan made landfall in 2013. Yep, that is supported by the models, and it should quickly weaken and dissipate in the South China Sea. Yep, and I'm pretty sure that wind shear is forecast to be high, and overall conditions are going to tear the storm apart in the South China Sea. So, as to
mechanical issues that it's trying to work out. So luckily, the storm has not completely blown up, but it is definitely trying to get its act together as it continues to move just south of west as you're seeing.
Okay, so where do we think ground zero is going to be for land?
Landfall will probably occur around Virac in around 12 hours, as Devin was saying. We are forecasting intensity to roughly be around 145 miles per hour at the time. That's a mid-range category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale at that time.
Ethan, chat saying they can't hear anyone other than you.
Yep, I do see the chat, and I'm dealing with those technical difficulties at the moment.
Fully audible now?
I'm trying to get it to work at the moment. I'm very sorry, this is my first time hosting a stream here.
Alright, on the off chance that we are audible, again, it's showing that the storm cleared out an eye for a little while earlier on. Yep, but appears to be, well, getting a little bit hidden again in the faintest frames. It is a very strange storm in that it's all in little bits, really. All of the convection patches now. I've never really quite seen anything like it. It's blowing up all over the place. It's not really structured as far as storm eyes go. It really reminds me of how Typhoon kind of got its act together, where it was also heavily affected by a shear early on in its time span, and it had to slowly get its core back together. The convection pumps finally outran the storm completely. So it's not that it was a weak storm and then it built up convection. Now it's in really favorable conditions. This has been a storm that's been around for quite a bit of a while, and it's had very intense convection for a while, but shear was just attacking the storm for the last couple of days. And because of that, structural issues that it needs to work out. It is working them out, but the storm still moving west, still strengthening a little bit at this time. But that's the reason why the storm looks as ragged as it does, is that it never really had that uniform central dense overcast that you would see with the rapidly intensifying system. We never got that here with Kammuri.
Yeah, and I remember when this storm formed, we were originally forecasting the system to rapidly intensify as it turned towards the north and then towards the west. We knew that that turn towards the west was going to happen, but it was originally forecast to intensify significantly at Cat 3 as it made that turn towards the west, but obviously that didn't happen. It was only, I believe, a minimal Cat 1 when it did that, if I'm not mistaken. But this storm is continuing now. Its rapid intensification phase is looking like it's beginning as it is rapidly blowing up cloud tops on approach to the Philippines, and
Well,
been struggling a little bit in the past few frames by the looks of it.
I wouldn't call that bit. It might be, well, most likely temporary. What is for sure, though, is that the HWRF model jumped the gun a little bit. It had a steep incline in intensification. That hasn't happened, obviously, but it could still get to minimal category 4, and a minimal category 4 is something pretty huge, and the rainfall estimates of 400 to 500 millimeters in some parts of eastern Luzon.
That is what I've heard,
Which
400,
would
500 millimeters.
put the storm in the range of a CDPS rating of a stage 7. And stage 7 obviously being a very catastrophic storm. Anything 8 and up is considered to be historic, but in that 6 to 7 range, that is considered to be a multi-billion-dollar disaster. If it would end up hitting the U.S., we're talking tens of billions of dollars at stage 7. So this definitely is a storm that should not be messed with. It's a very large system, as you can see just here from the imagery. It is a very large system.
system. The outflow is beautiful on this. You take a look in pretty much every single quadrant, except I'd say maybe the very eastern part of the storm. The outflow is great everywhere. So that is just really impressive. You don't see the tops getting sheared off like they were a couple of days ago. The overshooting tops aren't getting sheared off. So that's been going really well. So yeah, again, this is a storm that really needs to be taken seriously. Very surge threat, obviously the rainfall. That's going to come with a very high landslide threat, and of course, anybody that is in the immediate eye wall of the storm can expect to experience with sustained winds in excess of 115 miles on both sides of the eye wall. Whether if that is sustained or in gusts, that is too yet to be determined. But it is very likely that it will reach the Category 3 intensity by the time it makes landfall. So again, winds expected to be in excess of 115 miles per hour as it makes landfall. So basically anything in the immediate landfall area that gets hit with that eye wall, expect very extreme winds. And of course, the size means that the rainfall will be very wide-reaching. The surge will also be very high, especially because of the geography there. All that water is going to tunnel in. So if you're in a low-lying area on the coast, make sure you move up the mountains. Get away from the coast because the storm surge will also be pretty significant.
Indeed. This storm is... well, as I said earlier... Go ahead, Thomas.
I was just saying, I mean, the big takeaway here is, I know we've been discussing just how intense this will get. I think the big thing to really take away from this is that regardless of how intense it is at this point, it's got winds over 100 miles an hour. It's likely going to be at least a high-end Category 2 when it makes landfall. At least a high-end Category. No. And right now we have it as mid-range. It's not going to get any weaker than this. It's likely temporary. I think a major typhoon landfall is the most likely scenario, and the Category 4 has a strong possibility of occurring. But regardless, lots of rainfall is going to occur. Storm surge is going to be quite strong, and wind speeds are still going to be very strong. Winds of 100 miles an hour, which will certainly have more than that's still nothing to scoff at. So regardless of just how intense this is wind speed-wise, this is still going to be a very dangerous situation, and one that should be taken very seriously.
Can somebody go ahead and read out what the specific signal warnings are, if anybody has access to them? I know that Pegasa has been down, which has definitely not been helpful for trying to gather this type of information, but if anybody has access to their signal warnings, you can present them, that would be great. Like the specific areas that are underneath the signal warning.
Looks like the
Sure,
website
I can...
might be back up.
Perfect. That's great to hear.
Yep. I am pulling up the signal warnings currently. What I do know is eastern parts of the Visayas region are under Signal 3 warnings currently. Those were just issued a few hours ago. And the Manila metro area is under currently a Signal 1 warning at this time. And it'll probably get upgraded to Signal 2 at some point in the future.
The Visayas are a bit further south. Catanduanes, I assume, is under the Signal 3 warning.
Yep, indeed. The following towns are under Signal 3 warnings. Catanduanes, eastern portions of Caramenas Sur, Prezaticon, my apologies on the pronunciation of all of these, Garcioria, Laguna, San Jose, Tagon, Bohol, just to name a few, Nabua, Pilar, Gubat, Juban, all those areas are under Signal 3 warnings, just to name a few. Yep. Mainly including, those are mainly for southeastern Luzon. Those have probably just been updated as a matter of fact, because when I was reading it earlier, it was much shorter of a list.
It should be noted that Signal 4 warnings will likely be in effect within the next 6 hours or so.
You think that Signal 4 warnings are going to get issued, Devin?
considering the strength of this storm. Once the storm gets a little bit closer, if I remember correctly, Signal 4's Cat 3 winds within 12 hours. So Signal 4 warning should definitely be issued for this. Like I said, that should be within the next 6 hours, though, not necessarily right now, because it is a little bit more than it's a little bit more than 12 hours.
So is there a certain requirement for Signal 2 warnings to get issued at all?
Yeah, there is a requirement. I don't remember.
Signal 2 warning is basically a tropical storm warning, and Metro Manila is part of. I think you said Signal 1 earlier, but Signal 2 is in effect there. For several other places as well, Batangas, loads of places around the Manila region, and I'm just trying to find the northern extent up to southern Aurora by the looks of things, and then towards the east, obviously, where those Signal 3 warnings start, and they are as far west as Kammuri.
I was looking at some old information in that case. But nonetheless, Signal 2 warnings are in effect for
Signal
the...
1 warnings up to southern Isabela as well, and quite a few places inland by this point too, in central Luzon.
Yeah, southern Isabela, that is way up the island of Luzon.
And on the southernmost extent, Signal 1 warnings even now for the Dinagat Islands and Siargao Island, which is just off the northern tip of Mindanao.
Yeah, that's also, again, that just really shows just how large this storm is. So basically the entirety of the Philippines, with the exception of the northernmost tip of Luzon and I guess the large majority of Mindanao, is not really going to be, anything else is going to be affected by the storm in the Philippines. So just a very large system coming in.
Yep, indeed. And the models, as I pull them up here, this is what the models have been saying recently. They've, the ATCF, about 20 minutes ago, went with an intensity of 105 miles per hour. We would agree with that. The models are really having to play catch-up because recently none of the models were really hinting at a rapid intensification phase of the storm, and now it has actually occurred. So this storm probably will reach major typhoon intensity Cat 3 or higher before it makes landfall. That is indeed on our forecast and probably on the JTWCs, if I'm not mistaken. Is Cat 3 on the JTWC forecast? I haven't checked though. Is Category 3 on the JTWC forecast?
It was earlier.
It is.
And it is important to state that this storm is a stage 7 on the CDPS scale, with rainfall being the main threat from this system, and it is forecast to make landfall in around 12 hours from now, if I'm not mistaken. We are forecasting... That's what I've been hearing.
Okay.
And this storm is estimated to also have winds of 145 miles per hour at landfall, based on our analysis.
Oh, okay.
So if you do have any comments or questions, please do send them in the comments below. We will get to them as soon as you put them in.
I would say I'm skeptical about that 145 mile per hour peak. That strengthening would have to sustain itself at this level all the way until landfall if that was to occur, and it's a wait and see on that. I would suggest the low end category 4 for landfall at this stage, about 130 miles per hour, which is about 200 kilometers per hour.
Indeed. As I pull up Nathan's screen share here, what are you showing on the screen share here, Nathan?
This has been up for some time. This is the, I don't know if everyone can hear me well or not, Ethan, but this is the latest visible imagery of the storm, and I'll probably get a more recent update on this by reloading the page, but we'll do that in just a moment. But you can see the visible imagery from this morning. The eye quite clear in that image, and the landing, particularly on the western side there, well, obviously starting to move over those islands.
Indeed.
That really also shows the raggedness of the eye view that we have in this storm. That IR, the infrared imagery, isn't able to show because the infrared imagery is only able to see a cloud top. So if there's any kind of like high level cirrus that's going over the eye view, you see it quite visible. Since that's a little transparent, you would be able to see through it. And you could see that that inner core is still really trying to get itself together. Again, a microwave, it's gotten itself together. But just because it's gotten itself together, a microwave doesn't mean it's gotten itself together for the rest of the storm. So this storm still has a long way to go. This would if it was out in an open ocean, we're talking still another 48 hours away from it being super typhoon release. With the way that this storm is currently intensifying, and obviously we don't even have that much time yet. So again, it's only going to be a little bit more than 12, maybe 12, 15 hours for the storm to move in. So that's pretty much what we're looking at right now, is just a steady intensification as it continues to move closer to land. I do know that earlier today the HWRF wanted 145 mile an hour at landfall. That's where the high end peak comes from. It doesn't look like that's going to quite get there because it hasn't matched the HWRF's intensification rate here yet. But it's really going to depend on what this storm does here during the afternoon here in the Philippines.
Indeed, we have a few questions that have come in. Will the storm reach Category 3 intensity? Probably. At this point,
If it hasn't done it already, it will almost certainly do it within the next 6 hours. I can't see any limiting factor that would keep it out of the Cat 3.
yep, I agree. I think that Cat 3 before landfall is extremely likely. What are the chances of it getting to Category 4 intensity at landfall? While I would say earlier that it was moderate, probably around 60%, I would say that it's significantly down to around 20% now at this point, just simply because that this storm looks to be taking its time to clear out its eye at the moment, but its cloud tops have been remarkable. If I'm not mistaken, we had a 102-degree cloud top earlier.
Yeah, that wasn't today. That wasn't today. That was a long time ago, but that did happen.
Was that when it was a weak Cat 1?
Yeah, that would have been when it was bordering on tropical storm Cat 1 status and is getting sheared to an entire mess.
Yep, indeed. And this storm was really, for its entire life up until now, it's really just been a huge wait and see moment. Because now it's really beginning its intensification phase up until landfall.
And this really isn't a good time to be playing wait and see games because we know we've got an intensifying storm and we know that it's going to be approaching landfall. So basically, the best thing is to just assume the intensification rate will pretty much be the same as it continues to move in, unless there's some other factor that says otherwise. As of right now, we really don't have that factor that says that yes, this thing's really going to blow up. It certainly intensified quickly. However, even though it did intensify quickly overnight, it really hasn't improved its appearance all too much in the last 6 hours, which is definitely good news for anybody in the Philippines. But this is just a situation that requires close monitoring. Of course, with this storm only 12 hours out, you probably only have another 3 to 4 hour window yet to go ahead and safely get out of the path of this storm before the tropical storm force winds end up coming ashore. Once those 50, 60 kilometer an hour winds start coming ashore, it's definitely a no-go. You don't want to be traveling out in those winds. That's when you want to make sure that you're in safe shelter because that's when starts becoming a concern, and that's when cars can start getting blown around. So just make sure that you're in an appropriate shelter once those winds start getting above 50, 60 kilometers an hour, because they're probably not going to go down once they get that high.
Now, Devin, how long do you think that the highest winds of the storms are really going to last for?
Well, that totally depends on what the forward motion of the storm is. I don't know specifically how fast it's moving. Let's see here, 10 knots. All right, so that's 10 knots. Typically, with an eye wall, no matter how wide the eye itself is, you would expect an eye wall to probably be about a 5-mile wide region. So you figure 10 knots, 11 miles an hour, 5-mile wide eye, like maximum winds, where you're really getting the full blunt of the major winds. I mean, you're talking about a half an hour, hour tops. If you're on the northern part of the storm, you're talking probably more than that. But if you're just getting a brush by of the eye wall, then it's probably going to be a half an hour. If you're on that northern edge, southern edge, and you're just scraping by the eye wall, it's obviously going to be longer than that. That's where you're going to get an hour, maybe even an hour and a half of that constant condition.
We do have a few questions that have come in. Will this storm slow down after it makes landfall? It relatively should keep its current movement pace as it moves through the Philippines.
Yeah, this isn't going to be a Dorian type system where it moves over land and it's going to stall. That's not what we're forecasting here, and that's not what any of the models say. Relative forward motion appears to be at least relatively constant as it moves over the Philippine Islands. No significant accelerations or decelerations are expected as it moves through the Philippines.
Yeah, certainly not warranting a Dorian comparison, not by any stretch.
No, no, no. I mean, I can definitely understand the concern right there. Making sure, well, that we've had a ton of storms that have just gone over land and just sat. This is not going to be one of those storms.
Yeah, and there's pretty good confidence in that it's going to sweep through pretty quickly. I don't exactly know how quickly. We're talking, what, 24, 36 hours, I think.
Taking a look, the gale force winds, let's say here, the gale force winds to entirely get through Manila. Yeah, we're talking, once they start, it's got to be about a 2-day thing. 2-day? Am I looking at that right?
Yep, within 48 hours, the storm should be on
Yeah.
the western side of the Philippines.
48 hours, yeah. Because this storm is quite a big system. So we're talking a 36 to 48 hour gale force wind period.
Indeed. We're going to be taking a short break here. We'll be back after this short break here.